Welcome to Safe Haven Landing, a recreation of the landing point of African captives in the Western Hemisphere. Those people who were transported to the United States, to the Western Hemisphere as human cargo on what came to be known as the Great Triangle, the Great Triangular Slave Trade. Empty ships leaving Europe, not completely empty, they left with pretty shells and stones and fruit and weapons and liquor to be traded for their human cargo, which came over to this part of the world, the New World, to be sold at auction to be used to build this field. These captives were sold on auction blocks very much like this one. According to Dr. John Henrik Clark, during the 4th centuries of the slave trade, a third of the Africans stolen from Africa died on the march to the ships. Another third died in the holding stations like this one on both sides of the Atlantic or on board the ships. If the Atlantic were to dry up, this is a quote from Dr. John Henrik Clark, it would reveal a scattered pathway of human bones, African bones, marking the various routes of the Middle Passage. Sharks, huge sharks, learned to follow those ships, and those sharks were fed very well because a lot of the people, the cargo, were thrown overboard, and some just jumped, threw their children overboard, anything to avoid the fate that was awaiting them. Here we have a photograph of slaves standing outside of their dwelling. Over here we have slaves, captured Africans working in the field. This whole exhibition here was set up by Indea Vaher, a Second Life artist who devotes her time to sharing her art as well as her knowledge of African history. Here we have a statue, a statue of Bussa, leader of a slave rebellion in Barbados. This statue was given to us with a kind courtesy of Irie Irish of Irie Vibes, the largest, the biggest reggae sim in Second Life. Over 7,000 members, I'm told. This gentleman here, this is the back of a slave who was beaten, constantly beaten over and over again. And you can see scars on top of scars. This ship shows slaves on board the ship, in the hold of the ships. Here is a family. This picture is called On to Freedom, painted by Theodore Kaufman. Black people following the North Star, heading for freedom. Over here we have another statue donated to us by Irie Irish. This is Nani of the Maroons in Jamaica. Nani was a fearsome African warrior. The British were terrified of Nani. She led her people countless battles against the British, and she never lost. Over here we have a ship. This ship is called Remembrance, in obvious remembrance of those who traveled that on that second leg of the Great Triangle, coming here from Africa. As we enter the ship, can see there is a kind of a gated grill here that allowed some air, some light into the hold. Not very much, as you can see, because we can't see down it. These are the names of the people who were involved in the project. Acumenus Watanabe of the SLR Relationships Group, Irie Irish, founder of Irie Vibes, Catgirl Timeless of Isla de la Estrella, Tamsin Barzan of Nigeria in Africa, Saminaka, Alitha Inaka, SRM, Braxton Cord, consultant for SRM, Iwan Sweetwater, SRM consultant and owner of the Sweetwater Estates, Oliha Yawima, High Priestess, Nigeria in Africa. Thank you very much for your contributions. Now we go down into the hold. Here is a poster on the remembrance. Now we go down into the hold of this ship. It's going to be a lot cleaner than an actual slave ship. I'm too tall, I was hitting my head against that sign. Now, in the hold of this ship, this is a recreation. This is Sinke, leader of a group of captives that took over their ship, the Amistad, July 1839. This is a representation of the battle for the ship. Here's a diagram representing the interior of a slave ship. Here's a ship arriving in the Western Hemisphere. Over here we have captives brought on board the deck of the ship. To be photographed. A Lauda Equiano, slave stolen from Africa, who grew up to be and came to be a very wealthy and famous man and a world traveler. Various torture devices used to keep the Africans in their place. Here's a diagram of the second leg of the Great Triangle. Captives being brought to South America, to North America, the Caribbean. The road that the slaves took, the captured Africans being brought here from Africa. We'd like to thank Indea Vaher for her effort here, for the good work she's done. Indea, thank you very much. This was quite a very strong exhibit, and we will have to do it again very soon. Thank you very much.